In Tragedy, a true crime podcast, we discuss missing persons cases, violent crime, and other sensitive topics that may be difficult for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Our show is a place where every story matters and every voice deserves to be heard. To support this podcast, you can subscribe at www.tragedyaTrueCrimePodcast.com for early access to new episodes. And join our Facebook community, Tragedy, a True Crime Podcast, for updates, discussions, and ways to support the families we feature. Welcome to Tragedy, a True Crime Podcast. I'm Elisa.
And I'm Michael.
A teenager's life is supposed to be full of beginnings, plans taking shape, friendships changing, dreams still being imagined. But for Deanna Merryfield and the people who loved her, time seemed to stop in 1990 when she disappeared from Killeen, Texas. Today we're joined by Barbara Sueoka, Deanna's cousin, who is helping us paint a fuller picture of the young person at the center of this story. Before Deanna became a missing person, she was a teenager navigating life, family, and growing up. Someone who laughed, had opinions, relationships, routines, and moments that still live vividly in the memories of those closest to her. In this conversation, Barbara helps us step back into Deanna's world, sharing memories of who she was as a teenager, what life looked like before she disappeared, and how her absence reshaped the lives of those who loved her. Because when a young person disappears, families are left wondering not only what happened, but also who they might have become. Barbara, thank you for joining us, and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, and I'm glad to be here.
We appreciate you taking time to share your memories of Deanna, and that's where we really want to start. And so much of the focus is often on her disappearance itself, but we'd love to start with your connection to Deanna, what she was like as your cousin, and what did your relationship mean to you?
Deanna was a good kid. She was one, she lived with us for a while. She was real quiet. She always smiled. She was full of wanting to do things with her friends and, going around with family and just doing things, She didn't want to sit around the house and do nothing.
And so I believe that you all lived fairly close to each other. Did you spend a lot of time together?
Not as much as we should have. They did live with us for a while. The girls lived with us, and it would have been nice to spend more time with them, but our moms were busy, and we had school and all that other stuff to go through.
And so when you say you mean there are 4 sisters, right? And then all
Yes.
4 of them, so you were all together for a short period of time.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. And we understand that was because there were some challenges going on kind of with her parents.
Yes.
And then eventually, I believe they were all all the sisters were sent in different places. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
They were sent to different places. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for that reminder. So looking back, how would you describe the period that led up to Deanna's disappearance? What are your recollections?
Well, I know the girls were separated, and the twins, Becky and Deanna both, they were so close. They tried everything and their reasons to be able to visit each other and everything. So with her staying with grandma and Becky staying with my uncle, they just found ways to be able to see each other.
And that's kind of what happened, or our understanding of what happened the night that she disappeared. Deanna had gone over to see Becky, to speak with Becky, to hang out with Becky.
Right. And it was in the middle of the night. So everybody was sleeping, and nobody knew that Deanna had left my grandma's house.
If you think back to that time, I was about to ask you, do you recall anything unusual going on in the family? But we know that there were some difficulties in the family. Do you remember that? Oh, go ahead.
Just the difficulties, and I remember a lot of it. I mean, it vaguely, but it's been so long. I know when they lived with us, we had to take them to the Child Advocacy Center so they could be interviewed, and everything, all the stuff like that. And then, but I do remember, the girls were always smiling, always happy. Even through the rough times, they were very happy and smiling all the time.
Do you remember her saying anything about to you what she had hopes for the future, things that she was thinking about? Like I think when I was about this age, I told everybody I was going to be an airline stewardess. I don't know why, because hospitality is not really my strength area. But do you
Hmm.
guys recall having conversations about your hopes and dreams for the future?
I do not. When they lived with us, I was already finished high school and I was working a lot,
Hmm.
so it was kind of hard. But yes,
Let's talk about some of the happy memories. Tell us about a time that you had an experience with Deanna that just really sticks with you, or something that really made you laugh.
we were at the house, and I don't even remember what we were doing, but she made this big joke, and just the whole house, we were all in the living room or the kitchen, and we were all just laughing because something was just a big joke out of what we were doing. I want to say we were getting ready for dinner or something. So, but we always had jokes. We always laughed, carried on.
We do have an understanding from speaking to several people in your family that Deanna just was very fun to hang around,
Mm-hmm.
kind of
She
brought
was
a light into the room, always busy, like
always,
you said.
always, yes. She loved being around people. She loved being with her friends, family. The family life was kind of hard. So I think her friends brought a lot of more happiness to her. So, but even being at home, she was always laughing, carrying on, having jokes. She was just a smiley person, an upbeat person.
And I've seen some of the pictures that Missy has shared on Instagram. And she always looks really happy. And I love the blonde
Hmm.
curly hair. I mean, it just really makes me think of like the 80s, right? When we all
Yes,
had
ma'am.
curly hair and all the hairspray and all of that. So let's,
Girl, me too.
right? I had the Aquanet.
My
I
hair
think
was
mine was
big.
the blue can.
I
That's
had I had Aquanet too. Yes,
I remember the blue and the purple and
I
maybe
think
the
mine was
orange.
purple.
Yeah, see,
Yes,
there we
ma'am.
go. That's hilarious. Let's kind of go back to when this all started for you. So, what is your recollection about when your family first realized that something wasn't right?
I remember that day. My mom, she had called me to the house, so I had went home, and that's when she had told me that that Deanna was missing, and I was like, "What do you mean missing?" And that's when she told me the story about her visiting our uncle and going to see Becky, and that she never came home. That my grandma woke up and she was gone. They put her in as a runaway because back then we didn't have a whole lot of resources through KPD and all that. So it was a runaway, and they tried to look for her, but none of her friends had seen her or anything. So they just didn't do much. I wish, we would have been able to fight harder to get it into a missing persons instead of a runaway. Because I think we could have maybe found her, you know.
I do listen to a lot of podcasts about missing people, and it does seem to be that there is a default, particularly when we're talking about teenagers. Sometimes there's historically been a default to, well, they ran away. I would
Right.
like to believe that that tide is shifting a little bit now, because I think we have a lot better footprint on where people are, and I think people have a better understanding of some of the unfortunate things that happen when people go missing. So maybe the default isn't always necessarily there to going
Right.
to just a missing person, especially for, a young girl. You talked a little bit, you briefly mentioned coming together and searching. Can you talk more about that, what that looked like in your recollections of that time?
From what I can remember, I mean, we mostly went to her friends, called her friends, went to their houses, and try to see if they've seen her, and just looking around parks and the mall and things like that to see where if maybe she was there. But mostly it was just going to her friends and everything, trying to see if they have seen her.
And it's been several years. She went missing in 1990, and I know that there has been some renewed investigation, maybe is the word I'm looking for. Can you talk
Yes,
to us a
ma'am.
little bit about like how that happened? What has happened? Maybe Missy has done some things, and what has been your experience with this renewed attention?
Missy has done amazing putting Deanna's word out there because it's been so quiet for so many years. It did open up a while back, and they had talked. That was, my brother was alive, my grandma was alive, and I know they went and talked to her, and they went and talked to my brother. Missy has brought it out so much. She's done amazing bringing it out. I wish that, we could be able to bring it, keep going with it, and maybe do some more searches. And I got to go to one search and I thought that was awesome. But doing the searches and everything and talking to the people that we know now who was maybe involved, if they would actually just open up and talk to us so we could just find her.
One thing I want to go back to is you said the searches were awesome. Like what made that so? Like what was involved?
They had the dogs, that we couldn't go all the way out there, but we could hear like the dogs barking and the things like that. It was just something new for me because I've never been around things like that.
You said all the way out
Um,
there. What does that mean?
they were out in like the field over there, close to Nolanville. They were out in the fields, searching the fields for any remains or anything.
Do you know what led them to that area?
There's a few areas that they checked because there was somebody who said that she was seen closer to the woods. And back then, the woods were there was a lot of woods back then. So I think they were just searching the certain parts that they thought they might have saw her. Somebody had said something about the places that they searched, so they wanted to search and see maybe if she was there.
Yeah, we had a very interesting conversation with Steve, who I know has really been supporting the investigative side of Deanna's story. And it does seem like there have been some really positive movements. And I think you are right when you bring up Missy and the importance that she has brought to Deanna's story.
Yes, Missy she's amazing. I've always been close to Missy, but because when they lived with us, Missy and I shared a room. But her bringing the story out has done a whole lot. I think they're getting somewhere, but not close enough.
And have you lived in Killeen your whole life?
Yes, ma'am.
So
I was going to say unfortunately, but yes.
I am essentially a native of Colorado. I was born overseas, but we came back when I was 3 months old.
Mhm.
And up until 3 years ago, I lived in Colorado my entire
Oh,
life.
wow.
And it
Mhm.
was not until my daughter actually relocated to Texas for school that I spent any considerable amount of time in Texas.
Right, right.
And I've learned, at least the part of Texas that she lives in, it's always hot and it's always windy. And hot wind is
Very
my
hot.
least favorite weather phenomenon.
Yes.
Let's don't forget it smells
Those,
like cow butt there.
It does smell like. That's true. That's
those hot winds.
Uh,
I mean, you can get a sunburn from those hot winds. I mean, it's crazy. You can be out in the wind and the sun's not out, but it's hot. And then you come in, you got sunburn on
Yeah.
your face and your arms, and I'm just like, really?
a wind burn is a real
So
thing.
Yeah, one thing
it is.
we were just in that area, visiting Emma, and it was super dry, super hot, super windy. But then what made it worse is these lightning storms started. And
Yes.
we found ourselves in a situation because we travel the country in an airstream, and there were fires in 3 different directions. And like we were in the only area that there wasn't a fire. And so we were literally going, should we hook up the camper and get ready to get the hell out of here?
Mm-hmm.
And so we
Right.
understand. I mean, it's just Texas is an amazing place, but it can be a very dangerous place.
It can. It really, really can. I've lived in Texas since I was 6 months old. So I was born in Oklahoma and we've been here since I was 6 months old. So I don't know anything different, except I moved to Florida for a year. And when Hurricane Andrew hit, I came back home.
There you go.
Where in Florida did you live?
I lived in Brazard County. Fort Lauderdale.
Okay, yep, I know where that's at. I'm from Florida, so but I grew up in Tallahassee.
When I had a tree, I lived in an apartment. We had a tree that was on one side of the balcony. When I woke up from from the Hurricane Andrew, it was on the other side of the balcony. I said, yeah, it's time for me to go home.
Mm-hmm.
I came home and been here ever since.
We spent a day dodging tornadoes as we crossed Oklahoma as well. I'm like, okay, let's go. Are we out of here yet?
That's where I was born, Oklahoma.
Wow, it was wild. So
Yeah.
one of the things that we find sometimes can be helpful as we help our listeners kind of understand the story of someone who is missing or paint a picture of what life was like for them is asking those of you close to this story to just kind of talk about what was Killeen, Texas like in the 90s? What was going on in the, in the city, in the neighborhoods around the time that Deanna went missing?
Killeen wasn't as bad back then as it is now. I think towards, through the 90s, it was starting to get a little rough neighborhoods, kids just being kids out doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing and just learning through all that, well, I can get away with this. So let me go and start breaking into cars, and things like that. It's not as bad as it is now. I mean, I used to be able to walk from one side of the town to the other side of the town and have no issues. So, because at that point I didn't have a car, so I had to walk everywhere. And I didn't have any issues, but nighttime is when they all started coming out and starting their gangs and things like that. It was just starting to come out,
Yeah.
Where
I'm trying to think about what life was like for me when I was 13 and kind of what was going on in my neighborhood. And I don't know that I would have walked around at night when I was I don't know that any young 13-year-old girl should be walking around at night. Like we would go out during the day and that kind of stuff. But by nighttime, like we're coming in. So.
Oh yeah. See, with my mom was real strict on I was the baby. I was the only girl and I was the baby. So I had a stricter lifestyle because I was the only girl.
Mm-hmm.
So when the street lights hit, I had to be inside. Mm-hmm. There was no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
I could ride my bike out through the day. I could do anything. But as soon as the street lights came on, if I wasn't inside, I was in trouble.
Oh, yeah, that was similar rules that I had growing up as well. I mean, it was always, my grandfather always said this, there's nothing that you can be involved with at night as a teenager that's not just going to get you in trouble. And so therefore, exactly. I want you home.
Yep. That's the way I grew up. I had to be in by the street light.
So what is something people often misunderstand or simply don't know about Deanna?
That's a hard one. Like I said, she was so outgoing. Her friends, they were always so close, outgoing. That one is kind of hard for me. So, because I didn't hang out with her friends and, but Deanna was an outgoing person. She was a really good kid.
Yeah, it does seem like, based on what we have heard from the family, that she did a lot of walking around because she really just wanted to stay connected with her sisters, right?
Yes.
And like, as you mentioned, when you're that age, you shouldn't have a car. You shouldn't be driving. So she's either relying on
getting in cars with guys. Either.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. She's either relying.
That was the biggest mistake.
Yep. She's relying on walking around when it's probably not safe, or people who will transport her from here to there.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And put herself in kind of an unfortunate situation. So we know a little bit about some of the challenges that the family was experiencing. Can you just tell us a little bit more about why the sisters were separated?
I know that it had something to do with the stepfather. Kind of hard to go into them details, but it was more of when all this came out, the stepfather stayed home, so the kids had to be separated from their mom because he was at the house, so they couldn't be around him. So they had to come and live with us for a while. Then they took them from us and then separated them into different homes.
I remember this being a safety issue for the girls.
Yes.
Yeah, from the conversation.
Definitely for their safety.
When you say they separated them, who is that?
I want to say it was a lot of CPS and the Child Advocacy Center. But yes, they had separated. They had to separate them. They sent them to us. They, like I said, they lived with us for a few months. And then they went ahead and separated them into other homes because apparently somebody had said that my mom was pushing them to say what they said. So to make sure it was the truth, they took them away from us as well to make sure that their stories stayed straight and it wasn't my mom that was doing it.
So I'm a former educator and have had a little bit of experience with Child Protective Services. And it sounds like what you're describing is part of the investigative process
Yes.
to make sure, like you are saying, that they have the information that they need and that it's valid information, and then to make the best decision for the minor children who are involved moving forward.
Yes. Yes.
So is there anything that you have thought of during this conversation that you would like to share related to Deanna that we have not already given you a chance to share?
No, everything is pretty straightforward. I mean, like I said, it was so long ago. It's hard to remember a lot of it. All we want to do is just find her, bring her home. That's all. Know what happened and be able to at least have some closure for, for bringing her home and things like that.
You've been listening to Tragedy, a true crime podcast. Our purpose is to honor victims by sharing their stories through the voices of friends, family, and those whose lives were forever changed. If today's episode resonated with you, we encourage you to subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast so these important stories continue to be heard. Together, we can preserve their memories and ensure their voices are never forgotten. If you have ideas for cases we should cover or questions about what you heard, you can connect with us through our Facebook group, Tragedy, a True Crime Podcast, on X at Tragedy Podcast, by email at tragedyaTrueCrimePodcast@gmail.com, or by visiting our website, www.tragedyaTrueCrimePodcast.com. Thank you for listening, and we hope you'll join us next time.